everyone, it's Allison. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be playing with a new die from Simon Says Stamp. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to show you some of the other new products from the recent release, starting with one of my favorites. This is the Layering Apples stencil, and you can see I made quite a few things. I got a little carried away. You'll see a video on this tomorrow or the next day, so wait for that. The next product is called Noted. This is a stamp. This is a really fun stamp set. It has really nice things to say about people and really funny things. And my first card, I picked the funny things because, I like to be snarky. So today you're winning at posting to Instagram, eating snacks, things like that. And then I made this card that's more for like a school teacher or maybe even your student. And it has really nice things to say about either the teacher or the student. And the background of this card I made with this cool new cling stamp. This is the school supplies stamp. And you can see on the previous card that I showed, I cut out one of those pencils and popped it up on the card. This is the Darcy Bouquet embossing folder and cutting die. So you'll see there's 3 dies that come with this set that match the flowers on the embossing folder. I have not had a chance to play with this yet, but I'm excited to because I love these kinds of embossing folders. Let's get to the star of this show though. This is the citrus slice background die, and I had so much fun playing with this. And you'll see, even though I made 2 cards, these are the 2 cards that we'll be making today, I had so many more ideas as I was going along that I will share with you. So let's start making. I have cut out just a piece of white cardstock from the die, and I have a plain piece of white cardstock behind it. These are A2 sized. And I'm just going to tape these 2 together because I am going to use the die cut as a stencil. So I have selected some of the Pawsitively saturated ink cubes in very citrusy colors. And I am going to, again, use this die cut as a stencil and just blend these colors onto the panel, basically onto the panel below. And each little circle is going to be one color. So I'll have a bunch of green circles and a bunch of yellow and orange. And then you'll see I'll even bring in some pink. So super easy. And I just used my big blending brush to do all of this. It didn't have to be perfect. I just mainly wanted each little circle to be its own color. So then I came in with my detail round brush and I blended a darker shade of the color into the center, and then you'll see I used my bigger brush to kind of blend the colors together just so I didn't have such a harsh line in the center. And once I was done with that, it was time to do the big reveal. So let's see what we got. So gorgeous, right? That could be its own background. Really easy to make a card. The other thing that you can do is that piece that we used as a stencil. You'll see I'm going to flip my paper over. You could use that and make a card. That's a really cool background. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to use this piece and we're going to use it as a stencil again. So the piece that I already used as a stencil, I'm using a second time as a stencil. And I'm going to use the same colors in the center that I did before. So you'll see me holding the paper. This piece of paper was so saturated with ink at this point that the tape wasn't really holding the 2 pieces of paper together. So I'm kind of just holding it. I didn't need a perfect stencil result because you'll see what I'm going to do with this second panel. So here's the second panel. I didn't bother with, creating a darker center or anything like that. I really just was trying to get the color where I knew the holes were in the die. And I'm going to come in with the same colors and just blend those areas darker. So again, I didn't need a perfect stenciling. They were just basically placeholders so that I knew where to blend each of the colors, because this is going to be a background that we use underneath the die. And so again, I'm just coming in with the same colors. It's not going to look pretty. It doesn't need to. I am coming in with some Glimmer paste now. This is my favorite. This is Nuvo, the Moonstone color. And however you want to apply Glimmer paste to this page, you know, whatever you need to do. I like using my Stencil Pal. There are other tools very similar to this. It's just basically a very flat, firm surface that you can just spread the Glimmer paste. And what I'm trying to do is get a very thin but consistent layer of the shimmer paste onto my panel. You'll see me coming in once in a while to apply more paste, and that's because I don't like to put too much paste on at once. So I like to use just what I need and not more than that. So again, getting a very thin layer, and now I'm going to let it dry. And for me in Colorado, it dries pretty quick, but I would say maybe give it an hour to dry. And now I have another die cut. This is just a plain piece of white cardstock that I cut with the die again, and we are going to glue these two pieces together. And this is why I wanted a really thin level layer of that paste, because you know we're gluing this panel to it, and I am using my Gina K Connect glue for this. And look what we got. Pretty amazing. So I'm going to just put some of my old acrylic blocks on top of this until it dries, and we are going to move on to the original panel that we had made. So this was the first panel where, you know, I had colored the interior of the circles a little bit darker, and now I'm just kind of playing around. So I'm going to zoom in. So I thought this looked cool if you take the original panel and offset it so you see some of the white. Or I die cut it in black. That looks pretty cool too. And even I'm going to offset this so you can see some of the white. That has a really cool look to it as well. But I'm going to keep playing. Sorry for that little ding in the background. That was my computer notifying me of something. So here I've offset the two panels, and you could even do a third offset onto the panel below. There's just so many options that I was discovering with this die. And so now I had an idea. Again, I was just kind of playing with the offset here, but now I decided, what happens if I turn it? So I'm gonna just turn it. So now I have the white lines and I have the colored lines. I'm going to call them wagon wheel spokes because I know they're citrus slices, but they look like wagon wheels to me. And look how that looks when you put it on the different colors in the back. And you can even do this with black. If you offset black and the white, how cool is that? So there's so many options, but I decided to stick with the white panel, and now I'm going to cut out all these. Again, I'm going to call them wagon wheels. I'm going to cut all of these little circles out. They don't need to be perfect circles, but I'm going to cut them all out and attach them to the stenciled panel. And I'm going to be pretty consistent in the colors that I use. So if I have like a green wagon wheel, I'm going to put that on, I think I put it on the orange. Yeah, so there's the green on the orange. So everywhere I had an orange citrus slice on my panel, I would use green. And then for the yellow ones, I used a pink wagon wheel. So I kept those color combinations consistent, but now when you put the panel on top, look how cool that looks. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turning out. So I'm going to start gluing these little wagon wheels to the base. And for the ones on the side, I had to kind of figure out for the little half slices along the sides. For the smaller ones, I could use the medium, the half slices. It's kind of hard to explain, but I kind of had to play around with what sizes would work for the rest of the background. So here was another idea. Instead of cutting these little slices out, you could use a circle die, and then you come up with this perfect little wagon wheel, and you could put that on the front of your card and maybe stack some up for dimension, and that would just be a cool way to have a simple background. And you could do the offset like I'm doing here. And do you love my messy background? This is what usually my whole desk usually looks like this. And even, come in with a little black wagon wheel. So here I'm going to bring in the nice clean panel that we made before. This card is ready to finish, but here I'm going to show you what that would look like. Again, if you stacked some of these, it just kind of adds a really nice finishing touch to the card. Or you could do it in black, depending on, what colors your background was. But again, just so many options with this die, and it was so fun to play around and come up with these ideas for future cards. Again, you could do the offset just like this on top of the card base. But let's go back to what we're working on, because I get distracted a lot. And here's, again, the double offset if you wanted to stack two different colors. All right, so here is where I was saying I had to play around with how some of these kind of fit together. So the slices that you see at the top of the bottom of the card, they're like half slices, and then the ones along the side are smaller than that. So I was able to used as much of that original die as I could, but eventually there were some circles left on this panel that I still had to cover with wagon wheels, and so I did ultimately create another stenciled panel, and you'll see me do that in a second. So again, I'm just continuing to glue these wagon wheels, and even here's just a little partial wagon wheel. And every so often I just kind of check and make sure everything is looking good. So now you see on the panel on the left, there's some large circles that still need to be covered with wagon wheels. So I'm just coming along and stenciling again with the colors that I need. So I decided I'm already stenciling this panel for these few wagon wheels that I need. So I'll just stencil another panel. And ultimately, I now have another little background to play with, and you'll see that in a second. So here I was taking a while because I was just trying to figure out which colors I needed. And if it's not obvious until now, this card especially, I did not plan on this card. This just kind of came from all of the playing that I did. I had always intended on making the card with the Glimmer paste. That was kind of known from the get-go, but my second card was really just going to be a simple card using the stenciled background. But I don't know. I just, I had come up with so many ideas on the fly, and I really love this idea and how it kind of came about. So here is what it's going to look like, and I'm getting ready to attach it to a yellow card base. But then look at this. Just take the die itself and put it on a colored background, and that alone is just a cool background. So I'm now, again, going to apply glue all over the back of the die, and we're going to attach it to this base. And then this background will be ready. I just love it. And these colors are just so fun and happy. So now that our panel is done, we are ready to finish the cards. So for this, the one with the shimmer paste, I just added this Handwritten Hello Die. And for the center of, I'm going to call them wagon wheels. I know they're citrus slices, but for the centers, I added these cool little sparkle spots. This is from Trinity Stamps. They come in different colors. These are the white ones. And for this other card, for the center, I used white enamel dots. So I did two cards a little different. And I used the Happy Wishes die for this one. And for both dies on both cards, I used black glossy cardstock. And I also pulled some sentiment strips for the sub-sentiments. I will link below to all the products, including which sentiment strips I used for these cards. And again, I had mentioned at the beginning, I will have another video in the next day or so showcasing that new layering stencil set, the one with the apples. This release from Simon is so fun. The whole release is called Just a Note. So definitely check it out. I'll have links to everything below. I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.